founding member and leader of Hamas has allegedly called for a global jihad on Friday the 13th. Now, the original video has been taken off YouTube, but apparently he asked for all Muslims around the world to fight and be martyrs, asking for their souls to be sacrificed for Palestine. This is especially concerning as after Hamas attacked Israel, in New York City there was hundreds of Palestinian supporters right outside our own US Armed Forces recruiting station.
Palestine will be free.
Our resistance stormed illegal settlements and paraglided across colonial borders.
But not only in NYC, but all the way across the country in San Francisco, California, all the way down in San Diego in Southern California, and back up to Kirkland, Washington, across the country in Chicago, Illinois, over to Dearborn, Michigan. And it's not just US cities, as this is footage from Sydney, Australia, all the way over to London in the UK, where their police could not control the demonstrations. And Germany saw the same scuffles between police and Hamas supporters. And even above our own borders, Montreal and Toronto, Canada had thousands show up.
My fellow Americans, it's time to sit up and pay heed to a global warning that ticks like a time bomb, set to detonate this very Friday. Reports crackling over the wire expose a harrowing revelation. Hamas, the terrorist organization, has sent a stern, explicit call reverberating around the globe, urging massive rallies, acts of confrontation, and unwavering support for its sinister plans. They're dubbing it the Al-Aqsa Flood. It's not only a cry rallied in the Middle East, it's right here, knocking at our republic's doorstep, slinking through the cracks in our border securities. Gary Franchi here, and tonight I peel back the layers of this warning, untangle its threads, and pose an unnerving query. Is our republic prepared? Don't miss my final thought as we dissect why this matters to us, the fabric of our nation, and our cherished freedoms. As the newsrooms flicker with the echoes of alarms, an unsettling agenda unfurls across the world. A carefully worded, fire-stoking declaration Hamas has ordered this Friday as a day of general mobilization for operations ominously labeled Al-Aqsa Flood. This isn't merely a localized call. It's a summoning to Palestinians, Arabs, Muslims, and proclaimed advocates of freedom across the global stage to pour into the streets, coalesce at every juncture leading to Jerusalem, and bring forth a wave of united resistance. This defiant call to arms isn't constrained to foreign soils. It's insinuating into our homeland, creeping through vulnerabilities in our border control, whispering malevolent promises of chaos and violence. A prominent threat looms on our horizon, with hundreds of thousands potentially sidestepping our borders and our laws, with an unspeakable, terrifying agenda etched into their objectives.
Be activated to do harm against the homeland, and that's not fear-mongering. The head of Hamas said this tomorrow. He's called for a look at his own words.
Yeah, Khalid Mashal.
I want to make sure I'm accurate.
No, you're right. Khalid Mashal called for international.
Is it translated in English? Can you?
No, but I want to make sure I'm accurate because I get attacked by the media for fear mongering.
No, you're not. You're actually right. I have it right here.
Please read it.
His name is Khalid Mashal. He was the ex-chief.
Global Day of Jihad tomorrow.
Yeah, he said show anger, especially on Friday in Muslim countries, also among Muslim diaspora around the world, and he called it the Friday of Al-Aqsa Flood. He said this will send a message of rage to Zionists to America. He asked for financial help from all Muslims around the world to help their money, and he called it a financial jihad. He asked Muslims to give the fighters of Gaza in order to compensate them for destruction. The more important thing, Pat, this is final words. Funds are important, but today we are asking for your blood and souls to be sacrificed for Palestine. So I'm giving everybody a heads up, and that's why they've always.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. It's Friday the 13th, and Charlie, with everything that's going on, with the failure of security, with a message like that from this demon, thank God for our founding fathers for giving us the Second Amendment. Thank you, God, because guess what? I dare, when shit pops off here, Pat, God, I feel bad for everybody that happened over there. Nobody had guns for 3 to 6 hours. Apparently the best military, one of the best ones in the world, just disappeared. Over here, I'm proud of America because we got guns. Come try that shit with us.
Can be either misleading or they could be just the biggest warning that we need as Americans. Now, I'm not putting anything past anybody. I don't care what you support, but you have to realize what's happening here right now, right? The other day, I told people, hey, the United States and New York City is under heavy security for many reasons, right? And then we got this report right here that says Hamas attacks reminder that sleeper cells are crossing the southern border. Expert warns that they're already here, right? A lot of people have been getting warned about this, you know, and there's a lot of stuff that has been predicted to happen before the election, right? We had the alerts go down not too long ago. There was alerts that happened. Remember the alerts, right? Emergency alerts on everybody's phone at a certain time in America and I think Russia as well. So those are things that we just have to pay attention to. I'm not trying to scare anybody with this information. I'm just trying to let y'all know that this is what's going on.
Now, while we don't have specific and credible intelligence indicating a threat to our city, we encourage the public to remain vigilant. If you see something suspicious, report it to the FBI at tips.fbi.gov or by calling 911 in an emergency. That is an update from the FBI here in New York in just the past few minutes. Meanwhile, the war in Israel is putting even more.
So there you have it, right? A lot of people are letting this stuff fly over their head for many reasons. I have no idea.
From American Military News, report Hamas calls for global jihad, invasion of Israel, and attacks on Jews worldwide on October 13th. American Military News is NewsGuard certified 100 out of 100, if that means anything to you. And they say a leading and founding member of Hamas, Khalid Mashal, reportedly called for a global jihad on Tuesday, asking Muslims around the world to target people of Israel on Friday, October 13th. Video of Mashal's reported call to violence was posted on YouTube and remains up on the platform as of Wednesday at 10 a.m. According to a translation and analysis of the video by author Brother Rashid, Mashal referred to his proposed day of anger as the Friday of the Al-Aqsa flood, which will send a message of rage to the Zionists and to America. Okay. So, you know, I'm kind of worried.
Well, that's
they showed their numbers. They showed their numbers this week. How many are in this country?
Yeah, I was gonna say, should we talk about our sweet border policy?
Yeah, and
how many? Do we know how many Hamas individuals are in the United States?
No, I was saying with the rallies, with the people who.
Oh, right.
No, we saw, that there are plenty of people out there that are happy to commit violence.
It's just going to be New York. I mean, New York's a big target, but
yeah,
this is the concern. Look, Kevin McCarthy and Ron DeSantis both pointed this out. Whether you like any of them or not. Okay, our southern border is so extremely porous, and we know that several hundred every year, and now more. It's gone substantially higher, are on the terror watch list. I don't know if you want to trust this stuff or trust our intel agencies or any of this. I'm just saying, like, our border is open, okay? And there are people coming through who are not from South America. There are people from China coming through. No joke. There are people from Africa coming through. Mm-hmm. And, of course, there are people from the Middle East coming through. So if Hamas is trying to bring in sleeper cells, they've been able to do it for some time under the Biden administration. When they then say, we're going to send a message to Israel and the United States, I have concerns about what that may be. And it's the one time I hope our law enforcement can do a good job of something instead of just framing, rednecks for trying to kidnap people.
I always hope they can do a good job, but they just don't always do a good job.
Law enforcement here in the U.S. on high alert today, bracing for copycat attacks sparked by the bloodshed in Israel. New York Mayor Eric Adams is warning everyone to stay alert.
You need to be conscious of your surroundings.
The FBI issued this bulletin. While we don't have specific and credible intelligence, we encourage the public to remain vigilant.
Terrorism inspires terrorism.
David Viola is a former U.S. Navy intelligence analyst.
What types of attacks should we be worried about right now? There are a lot of guns in America, and they're not hard to get a hold of. So the idea of even a lone wolf finding their way into a synagogue is something that we're concerned about.
Here in New York, home to the largest Jewish community in the world outside Israel, the NYPD is stepping up patrols at Jewish places of worship. And they're encouraging Jewish and Israeli organizations to hire private security.
They should be able to worship
and recreate and work in peace and safety on every street in the United States of America. And that's why we're working so closely with state and local authorities to be able to identify any potential threats and disrupt those threats before they happen.
The entire nation is on edge. At a pro-Israel rally at the University of Florida, students fled in panic. They thought they were under attack. What sparked the stampede? Somebody fainted. Mass rallies continue across the nation, and the rhetoric is heating up. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham is calling for Israel to bomb Gaza into oblivion.
Do whatever the hell you have to do to defend yourself. Level the place.
And there's backlash against some Harvard students who put out a statement saying, "We hold the Israeli regime entirely responsible for all unfolding violence."
What the hell is wrong with Harvard and Columbia? Back in the terrorists instead of Israel.
Is this what they're learning at Harvard University? Bigotry, anti-Semitism, outright hate.
Don't think what happened overseas is not our fight, because the enemy doesn't discriminate at all between us and them. It's just us and them. Express, Israel war. Eric Adams, who's the mayor of New York City, he's a clown, warns of a terror attack on New York City by lone wolves radicalized by Hamas. I've been having a really rough couple days. It's hard. I can't believe the stupid we're dealing with out there. I'm legitimately trying to keep you alive and keep you safe and warn you about what's ahead. There's not going to be time for an I told you so show later on. Someone said to me the other day, like, I can see the show is different now. The show is different. The show is different. You know, I lived this my whole life, man. I stared at these demons, these savages. I read something last night. There's a quote from an old Jewish text that said that if you're kind to the cruel, then eventually you'll be forced to be cruel to the kind. It was in a journal op-ed, and it hit me hard because I thought about it. And it's so true. For too long, we've ignored that threat. We figured we could placate it, make it go away. When I say we, I mean the civilized world. I mean republics, parliamentary systems, and representative democracies around the world. We played into this propaganda game where Hamas and other savages use Twitter and other platforms, which, by the way, I don't advocate for any censorship at all. Let me be clear. But they used it, and they used these platforms, many of them, to propagandize people, to get them to believe that this was some kind of freedom fight.